Okay, question 21 says, verify the identity. Sine squared theta over 2 equals secant of theta minus 1 over 2 secant of theta. And they tell you how to start. I'm not focused real good. Give me a second. Okay, that's better. Use the appropriate half-angle formula and rewrite the left side of the identity. So, I'm going to go to the half-angle formula. Here it is at the bottom. It says the sine of alpha over 2 is equal to that. So, let me write that down. So, it tells me that the sine of theta over 2 would be equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine theta over 2. But since it's the sine squared, you square both sides, you get rid of the plus minus and the whole square root thing. It's 1 minus cosine theta over 2. So this side is 1 minus cosine theta over 2. Then it tells you to rewrite the expression from the previous step by multiplying the numerator and the denominator by the secant of theta. Multiply and distribute in the numerator. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the secant of theta. So in the top, I'm going to get secant theta minus, what happens when you multiply the secant times the cosine? They're reciprocals of each other, and they're going to make 1. In the bottom, you're going to have 2 times the secant of theta. Now, look what you have. You have successfully transferred from here to here by using these identities. Now, the last part of that question says, this expression from the previous step then simplifies to secant theta minus 1 over 2 secant theta using what? And it was the reciprocal identity, because we talked about the fact that the cosine and the secant were reciprocals. Question 22 says negative tangent of alpha over 2 equals cotangent of alpha over 2. And they want you to verify the identity. Cotangent of alpha minus cosecant alpha. I don't know why I said that. They say verify the following identity. So I'm going to go to my sheet. Tangent of alpha over 2 equals this and this and this. And I'm going to pick one of these I want to use. I'm going to go with the first one here. And it is 1 minus cosine alpha over sine alpha. And then I'm going to split this. 1 over sine alpha minus cosine alpha over sine alpha. I just split that. Now remember, I've got to do the reciprocal of this, or not the reciprocal, but the opposite here in a minute because it's negative. 1 over sine is really the cosecant, so this is cosecant alpha. And cosine over sine is really the cotangent. So I've split it. And then I can rewrite these using reciprocal identities. Now I need to apply this negative, and it's going to be negative cosecant alpha plus cotangent alpha. Or I could rewrite it the way the problem has it, cotangent alpha minus cosecant alpha. Okay, question 23 says verify the following identity. Cotangent of x over 2 minus the tangent of x over 2 equals 2 cotangent x. So I've written it over here on my yellow paper, and I know that the cotangent is the reciprocal of the tangent. So I'm going to go down here to tangent half angle formula, and I'm going to pick one of these, but I'm going to have to flip it because I'm dealing with cotangent. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to write it as 1 plus, I'm going to take this one, 1 plus cotangent x over sine x minus, now I'm going to switch over, I flip that for cotangent. I'm going to use this one as is because I'm replacing the tangent with it. and it's 1 minus cosine, this was cosine originally, pardon me, x over sine x. Now I'm going to put it all in one numerator. Sine x on the bottom, 1 plus cosine x minus, this gets distributed, y'all. I should have put it in parentheses, minus 1 plus cosine x. Well, the ones are going to cancel. You got 2 cosines, so you got 2 cosine x over sine x. Y'all know that cosine x over sine x is cotangent, so this is 2 cotangent x, which is exactly what it needed to be. Okay, to the right you have a half of an identity and the graph of this half are given. Use the graph to make a conjecture as to what the right side of the identity should be, then prove your conjecture. The viewing window is given here, so you need to put that in your graphing calculator, and I would put these in and see which one matches, and you're going to find that this one matches it. I think you can do that without my help, but this part I think you might need my help on. It says the cotangent of x plus the tangent of x over the cotangent of x minus the tangent of x. And what we'll want to do is write it all in terms of sine and cosine. So the cotangent is equivalent to the cosine of x over the sine of x plus the sine of x over the cosine of x. The denominator is the cosine of x over the sine of x minus the sine of x over the cosine of x. Now what I'm going to do is in the numerator I'm going to get a common denominator. It's going to be sine x, cosine x. So to change this into this, I need to multiply both the top and the bottom by cosine. It's going to give me cosine squared x. To change this into this, I need to multiply both of them by sine. It's going to give me sine squared x. Now I'm going to work very similarly in the denominator here. Sine x, cosine x is going to be my common denominator. So for this one to change into this one, I need to multiply both by cosine squared x, by cosine x, which is going to give me cosine squared. And for this one to change into this one, I'm going to multiply them both by sine, so I'm going to have sine squared x. Now I'm going to put it all together. I'm going to put the circle and the square together, and it's going to be cosine squared x plus sine squared x over sine x cosine x. And then I'm going to put the triangle and the check mark together. It's going to be cosine squared x minus sine squared x over sine x cosine x. Now you realize that I have a fraction divided by a fraction, so this is really the numerator. Divided by a fraction means multiply by the reciprocal. And these are going to cancel, so you're left with cosine squared x plus sine squared x over cosine squared x minus sine squared x, which I believe is answer choice here. Okay, it says to the right, half of an identity, and the graph of this half are given. Use the graph to make a conjecture as to what the right side of the identity should be. Then prove your conjecture. The viewing window is given. So I've gone to my graphing calculator and I've gone to my window and I'm going to put these values in. Negative 2 pi, pi over 2. The x scale is negative 3, 3, 1. Then I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to try this one. 1 plus sine x. And I did not check to see if I'm in degrees or radians. Let me see what happens here. Okay, that does not match what I have going on here, so that is not it. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to clear. I'm going to try this one. Negative cosine x. I hit something wrong. I want the x in there. No, I don't know. Do not need to hit the second button. Okay, let me graph this one. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to think it's this one, but I'm going to go ahead and test the others. Y equals cosine x. No, not that one. And y equals 1 minus sine x. No, so I know it's this one. Okay, the next part said, which of the following proves the conjectured identity? Choose the expression which is equal to both sides of the conjectured identity. So I'm going to take this, I did it on this paper, and I'm just going to use FOIL. First times first is going to be sine squared, and last times last is going to be cosine squared. Guys, I knew that that was going to be the difference of squares, and the middle two terms were going to cancel, but if you need to see that, if you need to see that this is minus sine x over 2 cosine x over 2, and then it's plus sine x over 2 cosine x over 2, those are the middle terms and they end up canceling. And then that takes you straight here to this answer, which is sine squared x minus cosine squared x. That concludes chapter 3 homework. I hope you do well.